Welcome to the Mycitizenagency channel. This is the second episode in a series on how to open an individual enterprise or limited liability company in the European Union if you already have a passport from one of the EU countries. In the previous video, we discussed the basics in detail, the advantages of EU citizenship, the differences between sole proprietorships and LLCs in the European system, and how to choose a country to register your business, taking into account taxes, contributions, and actual activities. Today we move on to the most practical part. In this episode, you will learn how to open an individual entrepreneur in any EU country, how to register an LLC in Europe, what is important to understand about VAT, sales throughout the European Union, and the OSS system, what taxes, social contributions, and accounting obligations await you after starting a business. If you want to not only hold an EU passport, but also take full advantage of its opportunities, this issue will help you build the entire process from the first steps to stable operation. The general logic for most countries is as follows. Always check the details in local law and on the official portals of the country where you are registering. Official EU resources advise the following. First, the general framework, then checking national rules and, if necessary, consulting with local points of single contact. Step 1. Check the requirements for the profession. Check whether there are any special requirements for your activity. Licenses, membership in a professional chamber, additional insurance. This is especially relevant for regulated professions, medicine, law, finance, certain engineering and construction services, etc. In the EU, there are points of single contact, PSC, national single windows, through which you can check what permits, notifications, and registrations are required to work as a self-employed person in a particular country, and if necessary, submit some of the documents online. Step 2. Prepare basic documents. The following are usually required: EU passport or ID card, proof of address, rental agreement, utility bill, bank statement for the last few months, etc. Brief description of your activities, what you do, where, and for whom. The same information will be required when opening a bank account. According to KYC rules, banks and fintech services in the EU almost always request proof of identity and proof of address. For example, passport plus utility bill or bank statement. Step 3. Register as self-employed or sole trader. Next, you move on to officially registering as self-employed. The options vary depending on the country, but the logic is similar. In some countries, you register through the tax service, often online through your personal account. In others, you also need to register through the trade or business register or municipality. In many cases, some of the procedures can be completed through the same point of single contact, which provides instructions and links to the necessary forms. The result is the same. You officially notify the state that you are starting a business and obtain self-employed or sole trader status in that country. Step 4. Tax registration and VAT. After registration, you will receive a tax number. Sometimes it is the same as your personal number. Sometimes a separate number is assigned for business activities. From this point on, you are required to keep at least basic records of income and expenses, file returns by the deadlines, usually once a year, and if you are registered for VAT, you must also file periodic reports. Many countries have a threshold for mandatory VAT registration. As long as turnover is below a certain amount, self-employed individuals can work without a VAT number to avoid overburdening themselves with administration. If you sell goods or services to customers in other EU countries, work in e-commerce or with B2C digital services, it often makes sense to discuss VAT registration and connection to the VAT one-stop shop OSS system with your accountant right away, so that you can submit a single consolidated declaration for transactions in different EU countries through your country's tax portal. Step 5. Account and accountant. Next is a practical question. Where will the money come in and who will keep track of the reporting? Business account. In many countries, self-employed individuals can formally use a personal account, but banks and consultants often recommend a separate account for business. This makes it easier to comply with regulations and separate personal and business funds. When you open an account, the bank or fintech company will check you against KYC or AML procedures. They will will ask for your passport or ID, proof of address, and sometimes a description of your business, website, first contracts, or invoices. Accountant or tax advisor. Even if your country has simplified accounting for the self-employed, you are still responsible for filing accurate tax returns. Therefore, it is common in the EU for the self-employed to outsource tax calculations and reporting to a professional accountant, especially if they plan to work with VAT and clients in different countries. As a result, at the individual entrepreneur level, the procedure in the EU seems quite logical and transparent. You check the requirements for the profession, register as self-employed through tax or government portals, obtain a tax number, VAT number and OSS if necessary, open an account and set up a basic accounting system together with an accountant. For a limited liability company, there are a few more steps than for an individual entrepreneur because a separate legal entity is created. In general, the process looks like this. Specific requirements depend on the country. Step 1. Name. Choose a name and check its availability in the commercial business register of the selected country. As a rule, each country has an online search engine for its register, where you can make sure that the name is unique and complies with local regulations, format, mandatory indication of the type of company, GmbH, SRO, SPE, ZOO, etc. Step 2. Participants and director. In many countries, one participant and one director are sufficient, and an EU citizen can be a director without a separate work permit. They operate within the framework of freedom of establishment within the Union. However, a number of jurisdictions may have additional requirements. A local address for the registered office. Sometimes a local contact person or representative for communication with government agencies. Therefore, before registering, it is important to check whether a local director or representative is required in your country or whether your EU citizenship status is sufficient. Step 3. Constitutional documents. The basic founding documents are prepared. Decision on establishment, charter. If there are several participants, a founding agreement or agreement between the participants. Many countries have standard forms for standard private limited liability companies, which simplifies the preparation process. These documents often need to be certified by a notary before being submitted to the registry. However, the EU is gradually introducing the possibility of online incorporation using standard templates and video conferencing with a notary. Step 4. Authorized capital. The minimum amount and procedure for contributing capital depend on the country and the specific form of the company. For example, for a classic GmbH in Germany, the law sets a minimum authorized capital of 25,000 euros, but only half of this amount needs to be paid in to register with the registry, with the rest to be paid in later. In Slovenia, the minimum authorized capital for a limited liability company, DOO, is 7,500 euros. In other countries, the minimum capital may be significantly lower or symbolic. This needs to be clarified for the chosen jurisdiction. Step 5. Registration in the Registry and Tax Office. Next, the package of documents is submitted to the Trade Commercial Register, either online or through a notary. In many countries, it is the entry in the register that makes the company legally born. Until that moment, it does not exist as a separate entity. After registration, the company receives a registration number, and the information is often automatically forwarded to the tax authorities for the assignment of a tax number. Sometimes a separate application to the tax authorities is required, depending on the specific country. From this point on, the company can enter into contracts, hire employees, rent an office, etc. Step 6. Bank account, accountant, VAT. After registration, a corporate bank account is opened. Banks and fintech services, in accordance with KYC or AML rules, usually request constitutive documents and an extract from the register, confirmation of registration and company number, information about beneficiaries and directors, passports or IDs, and proof of address of key persons. At the same time, it makes sense to sign a contract with an accountant, determine when and under what conditions the company should register as a VAT payer. Thresholds and rules vary, but in general, most companies in the EU are required to register for VAT and keep VAT records sooner or later. This will give you a fully functioning LLC in your chosen EU country, with registration in the registry, tax accounting, an account, and a clear reporting system. Without special regimes, this would mean that when entering several EU countries, you would need to register separately for VAT in each of them. To avoid this, the one-stop shop OSS system was created. You register in your country, submit one electronic quarterly return, and through this portal, VAT is distributed among the countries of your customers. For small turnovers, there is a pan-European threshold of 10,000 euros. As long as the total volume of certain B2C services and distant sales of goods to other EU countries does not exceed this threshold per year, you can continue to charge VAT according to the rules and rates of your country and report only at home. Once the threshold is exceeded, VAT becomes the country of the buyer, and you must either register for VAT in each country separately or connect to OSS. Many businesses voluntarily choose OSS earlier in order to immediately build a unified reporting system. OSS is especially convenient for online stores and online services that sell to several countries. It allows you to not open separate VAT registrations in each customer's country, report sales by country in a single quarterly return, work with a single tax authority in the country where the business is registered. At the same time, if you also ship goods to the EU from outside its borders, there is a separate import one-stop shop, IOSS regime for shipments up to €150. It works on a similar principle, but specifically for imports of small shipments. In any case, before you start, it is important to work with your accountant to understand whether your business falls under OSS or IOSS, what turnover threshold applies to you, and how often you need to submit VAT and OSS reports in your country so as not to miss deadlines and incur penalties. Any business in the EU, regardless of country, is expected to do three basic things: timely payment of taxes, payment of social contributions, pensions, healthcare, unemployment insurance, and other elements. The set depends on the national system. Maintaining accurate accounting records and storing documents. Official EU resources emphasize that even small and micro enterprises are required to keep records and submit reports, but simplified forms apply to them. Taxes. For self-employed individuals. Self-employed individuals pay taxes on their personal income from business activities. This usually includes personal income tax on profits from your activities. If necessary, VAT if you have exceeded the threshold or voluntarily registered as a taxpayer. In some countries, local taxes or fees, municipal, professional, etc. For LLCs or limited liability companies. The company pays taxes as a separate legal entity, corporate income tax on the company's profits, VAT on turnover, if the company is registered as a taxpayer, possible local taxes, property tax, local fees, etc. The income of a director or participant is already taxed at the personal level, as salary, dividends, or other income. Social security contributions. The general principle of social security coordination in the EU is that you pay contributions in the country where you work, and at any given time you are subject to the legislation of only one country. This rule applies to both employees and self-employed persons. If you are self-employed, you usually register with the social security system of the country where you actually operate and pay contributions there. Pension, healthcare, sometimes unemployment insurance. If a company has employees, the employer is required to register with the local social security fund and pay contributions for employees in the country where they work, even if the company is legally registered in another EU country. For you as a business owner, this means that the actual place of work and employees are more important than the company's flag in the register. Accounting and document storage. For self-employed individuals, accounting requirements are usually simpler, keeping records of income and expenses, storing documents, invoices, contracts, statements, annual income tax return, and for VAT, periodic reporting. In some countries, simplified accounting is allowed for small turnovers, but the obligation to record transactions still applies. The rules are stricter for LLCs. Annual financial statements must be prepared in accordance with standards established by national law based on the EU Accounting Directive. Accounting documents and reports must be kept for several years, for example, in the Netherlands for at least 7 years. In most countries, reports must be submitted not only to the tax authorities, but also to the Trade Commercial Register so that the data is publicly available. There may be some leniency for small and micro enterprises, simplified reporting forms, no mandatory audit, etc., but the obligation to keep records and submit reports remains. The role of an accountant. Reporting is simpler for individual entrepreneurs, but all taxes and contributions are linked to your personal income, and the responsibility is also personal. LLCs have a separate tax base, corporate reporting, and the director's responsibility to ensure that declarations are filed on time and annual reports are published. Specific tax rates, contribution amounts, benefits, and simplified regimes depend on the country, industry, and turnover, and the rules are regularly updated. In practice, almost no one in the EU works without a local accountant or tax advisor. This allows you to meet deadlines, apply legal benefits, and avoid fines and additional charges. The main task of Mycitizenagency is to help you legally obtain a passport from one of the EU countries. We build our work in stages. Initial assessment of the situation. We gather all the relevant information, your documents, family history, possible European roots, previous citizenship, facts about relatives living in EU countries. At this stage, we honestly assess whether there are any legal grounds for citizenship. Choosing the route to citizenship. If there are grounds, we help you understand which path you can take. Classic naturalization through residence, marriage to an EU citizen, restoration of citizenship, simplified options based on origin and belonging to the diaspora, repatriation and similar programs. We explain the pros and cons of each. Preparation and structuring of documents. We help you collect and correctly prepare documents. Birth and marriage certificates, archival references, proof of origin, criminal record certificates, translations, apostilles. Your task is to provide the source documents, and we help you turn them into a neat dossier. Support with submission. We help you make appointments with the relevant authorities or consulates, fill out forms, and ensure that your application package meets the requirements of this specific country. If necessary, we engage local lawyers and consultants who specialize in the relevant field. Support until a decision is made. We guide you through the stages, help you respond to additional document requests, prepare you for interviews if required by the procedure, and support you until a decision on citizenship is made. If you want to find out whether you have real grounds for citizenship in one of the EU countries and how to use simplified programs legally, leave a request for a free consultation at the link in the description. We will study your situation, draw up your personal immigration plan, and prepare a complete package of documents for successfully obtaining citizenship in one of the EU countries. We work individually, taking into account your goals, your lifestyle, and your situation. Thank you for watching this video. If you're interested in this topic, subscribe to the channel and feel free to ask questions in the comments. We regularly publish program reviews, answer frequently asked questions, and share important news about immigration law and life in the EU. Your journey to Europe begins with the first step. Mycitizenagency is there for you every step of the way.